Hello and welcome. This is Josh Keegan, and I am the Aussienaut. And welcome to this very special live stream on space architecture research. Souktik Bhattacherjee, I'm always going to get this wrong, is a space architect and a PhD researcher focused on designing safe lunar habitats for astronauts and para-astronauts. So that's astronauts with a disability. His work extends beyond space architecture to promoting accessible space education and inspiring future generations to contribute to interplanetary living. All right, welcome, Souktik. How are you?
Hi, good to see you again. I'm nice, doing good.
Excellent. For those people who have been following along for Aussienaut for a while, or previously the Space Down Under, as it used to be known, Souktik may look a little bit familiar to everyone as the audience, as we actually had an interview way back in 2023.
Origami Habitat.
Okay, so when we are going from Earth to any planetary surface or doing space architecture, for there are different stages involved. Like when we are going for a very short period of time.
All right. There we go. That was a previous interview. So thank you very much for coming back on board with Aussienaut. It's very wonderful to have you along once more, and it's very good to discuss space architecture with you. So since our discussion on space architecture and AI in April 2023, do you want to please provide everyone with an update of what you've been up to?
Yeah, so right now I am in Adelaide. So I am now a research student, PhD research student at the University of Adelaide at the Andy Thomas Center for Space Resources. And I have bunch of my friends who are also doing space architecture research with me. And by the time it's been a long way. So when I met, I remember that I had a conversation with the International Space University conference where me and a couple of other of my friends had presented their works, and after that we had the interview. And after that a lot of things have changed. Like I have publications around over the world. So first I remember I was working on the crew quarters, actually, like the crew quarters for the long duration space mission, how the design would be and how it can be made accessible, and a bunch of stuffs like that.
Mm-hmm.
And later on I got involved with the healthcare architecture for the space environment, something like that region. And I also had submitted few papers at ICES. But later that year in 2024 December, I got a paper on robotic surgery for space environment, the architecture for that revolving around those areas, in the December 2024 in the ISE, International Astronautical Congress. And then I remember a good work that I was doing was the application of remote sensing and GIS for the lunar habitability context. So that was a very interesting research. And so idea was popped up that what the lunar urbanism would look like. So when I talked with you, I was doing my bachelor's. After that, I started doing my master's in urban design. And so generally my question, like my mind always popped up that what the lunar urbanism would look like. So from that question, I worked on that remote sensing and GIS. And also a very interesting research I did was about the urban image of the lunar habitat, and it had quite similarities with the underground structures as well. So those are the areas I explored. I even published that paper at the ACUS conference, which is a international underground conference, which talks about. And I met a lot of people there, made a lot of friends, had a beautiful time in Singapore. And then this publication of the remote sensing had happened recently, but it was published a year back. But yeah, like after that, like I came here, I started again researching, dive deeper into the healthcare for the astronauts in the lunar context. Yeah, those are the things.
Mm-hmm.
Quite vast areas I was looking into, and now too. Yeah.
All right, I just wanted to. That's probably a good place for with your pause. That just to let everyone know and remind everyone that we actually have the Q&A open. So if anybody who is joining us live who wants to ask any questions of Souktik, please just let us know. Write in your comments, and of course, everyone who is there, who is in our audience, please. Welcome. Feel free to add in your comments or questions. There will be questions and answers towards the end. All right. So I guess that's a good segue into my first question, which would be: can you tell me what it's been like living in Adelaide, and what has influenced your decision to pursue a PhD at the University of Adelaide?
Yeah, that's a very nice question. So actually, I came here around February this year, and it's been a few months in Adelaide for me, and I am absolutely loving it. The weather is fantastic, and then the food, like everything is going my way, and I am really enjoying the vibe here. Yeah, I cannot stop praising the weather here. When I came around the summers, am also a very beach person, so I love going to the beaches in the afternoon of the weekends, and then I utilize most of the weekends in the beaches. And also it had beautiful mountains. I had been to recently the Handorf. It's a German village. It's a state heritage of South Australia. So yeah, some of the beautiful places here. I'm also attending the in space meetups that's happening all around Adelaide. So yeah, it's a good place for a space person to be here, so that you can meet people. Yeah, so those are the some of the reason. And also the Andy Thomas Center for Space Resources, so it is also a very big laboratory that I am involved in. That laboratory gives a lot of scope, lot of experiment opportunities, and a lot of other things. Like being around a bunch of space person feels a lot different and makes difference in your research as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, those are the things I just considered, and like, okay, let's fly to Australia.
Yeah, the ability to go to the beach in the afternoon will always get everyone in terms of this sort of stuff. I mean by that, it's the lifestyle that you have, especially in Adelaide. Just because I've been to Adelaide a number of times, and it's a wonderful city to be in, and compared to some other cities. Brisbane is quite large, like in terms of size. It can take
Mhm.
you hours and hours and hours to get across the city, especially with traffic. So yes, I certainly understand the ability to want to go to the beach in the afternoon. But however, here in Brisbane, we do have some beaches. They're not so great, but we have a really good ones down at the Gold Coast, which is only an hour away. All right, so I certainly understand that. So what has inspired you to explore the intersection between space architecture and space medicine?
So it's a very interesting story. I really didn't know anywhere when we had interview that I'll be diving deep into the space medicine and space architecture. But and So after that, I was working on many bunch of, as I told you, I was working on many bunch of things which is related to my areas. But suddenly I came across the thing called space surgery. So our human body behaves differently, way differently than on Earth, and without gravity, it's a whole lot of new game. It's that's gonna happen, and that space surgery actually threw me up. That okay, this is something I can involve myself in, and I want to really work into this area, develop this area through architecture and whatever it needs to be done. So that's the area where started looking into, and I came across the work of Dr. Mark Campbell. So he was a flight surgeon at NASA. He was part of the NASA reduced gravity program, where he did bunch of surgical tests in a parabolic flights flew by NASA in KC-139, something like that. The aircraft was there. So it's a parabolic flight. It got a 25 to 30 second of span of the parabolic of a free fall environment in the microgravity. And that's something I looked into. And as I dive deeper, I found that the NASA have also given their statements that they want that research to be done, the development should happen in these areas. So so some of the NASA's the moon to mission documents are quite helpful in those terms. So yeah, so I was very excited to see that okay, the demand for the research is already there. And so yeah, I just dived deep into myself and just found that it's a whole lot of things to explore, and like it's very exciting and it's very overwhelming for me to just keep doing things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I understand that. I understand that. So, this will lead me into the next question as well. Is your most recent publication discusses the integration of remote sensing, so remote RS, and geographic information systems, so the GIS, which is commonly used on Earth, but it's also used for lunar habitation. Could you give me an idea or explain how RS and GIS technologies are applied in lunar architecture? How does that work?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting thing that we use GIS and remote sensing on Earth for a wide range of things. Like, let's say, where, like, for mapping the areas of agriculture, or doing the urban design, and hell lot of things we do. We have satellites all over the Earth, and taking photographs of each time how the weather changes, the weather pattern changes, how the shape of our beaches changes over time, and everything is done with the remote sensing and GIS technology. But on Moon, we have couple of satellites. Let's say we have the Lunar Reconnaissance Satellite and the Chandrayaan satellites from India. So those satellites are actually mapping the surface of Moon, and those data, I was very intrigued that how this data can be utilized for saying that this part of the moon is more habitable or this part of the moon is less habitable. So this was the initial thought that struck me, that what, as a space architect and with a knowledge of urban design, what can be done. So what I proposed through the research is that we can actually develop a formula called a habitability score for each region, which would be comprised of a feature score and a proximity score. What I mean by the feature score is that, let's say, the feature that determines our habitability on that particular surface, let's say the illumination, the surface temperature, the geology, and everything, and the proximity score from that, what is my interest area, something like that. So if we integrate both of these two data, and then we map those integrate, like we map those, overlap those over each other, we come up with a very beautiful map. And that map is something called a habitability map of the surface of moon. So that was the area I delved into, and I just explained you the, like, how it's done in a very short while. Yes, those are the things I looked into, and it's a very interesting thing to look into, that how this space have actually developed with time, and how space architecture can usefully integrate itself in that area. Yeah.
Oh, okay, right, okay. So, and yeah, so there is clearly an intersection between the two of them, and yeah, it's very interesting that you've come up with that, especially for the GIS systems as well, considering the GIS is used here on Earth. So that's well, it's GIS, and then there's GNSS and all that sort of stuff that's used here on Earth. So I have a curiosity question. I was looking into you, sorry, well before this interview. So I did a bit of background and a bit of research on you, and I kept coming up with something called LASAR LAB. Do you want to give me an idea of what LASAR LAB is? And is there a role for LASAR LAB in Australia's space industry, do you think?
Yeah, so the thing is that about few months ago, I found that there is a huge gap between the awareness of the space architecture among the people. So it's a very new discipline, and also many people don't know how to make career, how to delve into this area, and where they can actually start. So that is the reason why I actually had thought that why not, let's spread the words of space architecture, and also tell people that how exciting is it, how the designs are approved by the architects, and all these other things that will excite you. So
Yep.
I'll be going back to my childhood, how I got interested in space. So when I was in my school days, I saw a portrait of Kalpana Chawla in my school library, and I saw her in a NASA suit, and that kept me asking that what she had done and how was your journey. And she inspired me a lot, like her journey inspired me a lot, how she became one of the astronaut from an Indian origin
Yep.
astronaut at NASA. Yeah, so that's something intrigued me. So that's the same thing I am trying to do with LASAR LAB, is to say people the words of space, the how space, how your contribution to the space technology can actually benefit Earth. So from that idea, I started LASAR LAB. I am posting actively on the social media platforms on the different topics, also plans for YouTube and other areas, working in and spreading more of it. So yeah, so these are the some of the things I'm very excited. And yeah, for the Australian have a very unique chance to develop space architecture.
Yeah,
The
very,
reason
very
being,
much,
yeah,
very much. That's the thing is, so LASAR Lab is you, and everything you've done. So yeah, we had a look around, and there's all your publications and papers and all that sort of stuff that's listed on there, and that's fabulous to see. In terms of the origami habitats and all that sort of stuff. That or the origami, because we were talking about origami habitats last time we spoke, and we had our interview in 2023. What
yes.
does that look like now? The origami habitats. I know I might have caught you a little bit off guard because this is definitely not a planned question, but yes, what does the origami habitats look like now? Where how far has that progressed, and do you still have a lot to do with it?
Yeah, so as this image, yeah, so we were we worked on the origami habitats after that for a while,
Mm-hmm.
and I am seeing that as we had previously discovered that the SAGA space architects have also developed their habitat prototype. Now they have developed something like European Space Agency's astronaut analog. So those, so their research and the area in space architecture they are in, so they have developed quite a bit in terms of origami habitats. But since we are now looking into a permanent settlement, I think the focus from origami habitat have shifted towards 3D printing, advancing the 3D printing as well.
Yep.
So yeah, so deployable habitats and 3D printing and use of regolith, that is the ISRO technology that we have on Moon. So
Mm.
those are the kind of technology that will be integrated in our future Moon plans that are being done by NASA to ultimately get the permanent base ready on the Moon. But
Mm.
yeah, like origami is a great option for the temporary settlement, also to test up some stuff for a very short time of period. But yeah, so those technology can be further explored in terms of placement in the space stations, not just on the lunar habitat and lunar area.
Mm.
On the space stations also we can utilize that, as the example of the Bigelow. I think we have discussed before that the Bigelow, how it explodes from a very small thing to a very big, like a balloon kind of thing. So those are the technologies are, yes, it's being explored, the materials are being developed rapidly, and the still the search for the perfect fine material which will be best for human settlement is being researched.
Yep.
The another big challenge in these types of habitat is the radiation protection. So the radiation protection is also being researched a lot. And yeah, and the interior structure, I found there are a lot of researches being done from CISCA which are published in IC and ICES conference around the deployability of the structures on the lunar surface. So the technologies that we use on Earth works very differently on Moon. Let's say the AC motor or the DC motor which we use for generating electricity and transferring electricity. Those motors are actually not very effective when we take them to the lunar context. So it's a total process of rethinking that goes into the place. And yeah, so it's developing.
Yeah, it'll be a long time developing and all that sort of
Yeah.
stuff, and it'll take a while. But
Yeah.
The Artemis program is one of the most significant out there at the moment in regard to getting people on the moon. At the moment, providing it isn't abandoned by the current president at the moment. But
Yeah.
however, that said, that doesn't mean that the lunar surface is out of bounds for everybody else, because there is a whole bunch of international partners who are looking forward to going to the moon. So I have some other interesting questions. Just as this is a bit of a side note. First one is. And this is all, as you were talking, I was just thinking of some stuff. And one of them, the question doesn't relate to the regolith or anything like that, because that's in situ resource utilization. My question actually relates to ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization. I've got a question in regard to that, if you're willing to answer. What do you
I will
think
try
about
my best.
what do you think about the potential of launching astronauts from ISRO that's due to happen, I think, next year now? It was the latest I saw. What are your thoughts on that? Are you looking forward to it? Is it something you're excited about? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I am very excited for the plans of ISRO. So, as per I know that the with the Gaganyaan mission on the rise, the Indian astronauts will go to space, be in a suborbital region for a while. They will orbit and do the experiments through the Gaganyaan mission, and it is said to be to happen in the next few years.
Yep.
And I am very excited about to say you that ISRO have also plans for the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, which is the India's own space station. So that would be the third space station by any country. First one is the USA, then Russia, then China have also there.
Yep.
Now India have already allocated their budget, and research have been started rapidly in ISRO for India's own space station. I am very excited for that. I can't imagine that how many Indians and how it will gather all the international partners together in one place. And we can also think of it as the next phase of international space stations that are going in space. The space research that's happening will be more rapid, will be more cheaper than that's happening. And the next thing is by 2050, I think, or 2045, India have planned to land on moon with the Indian rocket. So that's the way forward. If they have the huge research that's going on, and I'm always very excited about ISRO. The reason being, they achieve with such a high precision and with such a low budget, so that's like very off the chart. And it's the most important thing I think for ISRO is that, like, it's just mind boggling. And I think some of the best researchers of India does wonders in ISRO.
Oh, look, from Australia, I look at India and what ISRO is doing and what they've achieved, especially in terms of the missions that you guys have done for a tenth of the price of what the US can do it, especially with the going around Mars and all that sort of stuff. And that was just amazing. And I managed to see that, but probably should have live streamed it, but that was my fault. But if that happens, the next time I know who to ask. That's the thing, is that with the I believe that there at least will be a presence on the moon, regardless of whether or not the US decides to go to the moon or skip it and go to Mars. But it'll be the rise of other countries that will be doing so, because China has already, in recent days, has made an agreement with China to actually transport a nuclear power station to the moon to actually set up baseline power for the moon and for lunar exploration. So if ISRO and India are going to be there, then it's going to be a very interesting and crowded little place for everyone to be. And I'm quite excited and quite looking forward to it. And also, the fact that you guys will have your own space station as well, might be an opportunity for Aussies to come along and help you guys out as well. So There's always that
definitely,
possibility. My
definitely.
other question I had that it's been kind of bugging me as well now. The International Astronautical Conference is on in September in Sydney this year, and it's being presented by the SIAA and other associated organisations as well. Are you attending personally? Are you still going to be in Australia for that length of time, or will you be not here?
Ah, so yes, I'll be definitely at the ISE. I'm very excited to be in ISE, meet the all the space big shots there, and I actually would love to whoever is seeing my interview would I would love everyone to invite here in Australia because it's one of the most beautiful place on the earth. I can assure you that. So you must come here, meet some kangaroos, and spend some time in beaches and explore wherever you want. And also, with the ISRO thing, as you said, that I
Yeah.
also found that recently, it's quite recent, that Australia's ISRI spacecraft, which is a test flight to the orbital launch, is being also held, which would be held and is recently delayed, I guess. So from the northern Queensland. So yeah, so
Yes,
it's a
the that
big
was
leap
Gilmore
for
Space Tech.
Australia as well.
Yep, that's Gilmore
So
Space Technologies. I can provide you with a little bit more insight into that because I followed it very closely. They're up in Bowen. That's the Bowen Orbital Space Station. And yes, their launch has been delayed simply
yeah.
because they went through the checklist and the front fairing, I believe, fell off or became
Yeah.
unclipped. One of the two. I've heard
Yeah.
two different stories. So yes,
Okay.
hopefully by
Okay,
September they would
it's a
have.
very exciting thing to see Australia's own launch
Yes,
spaceport
absolutely.
and then an indigenous rocket being going to the suborbital. So it's a very big achievement for any nation. So
Yes,
yeah,
it is.
congratulations
It
to
is.
the
It is. It
Australian
hasn't
Space
launched yet, but
Agency and the partners.
yeah, it hasn't launched yet, but it will do soon.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So just to let you know, I myself will also be at the AAC this year. I've already booked my tickets and accommodation. So yes, I'm very much looking forward to the open day for the public because that's the only one I'm allowed to attend. However, I've got a space business. Well, YouTube's not really space, but it is sort of space business. But yeah, I'll see if I can get in. See if I can edge my way in somewhere. So, all right. So, well, look, that's all the questions I had for now. And unfortunately, there is no questions being asked on the chat at the moment. So that's okay. Sometimes that happens. But maybe because we've been talking about complex situations and circumstances in terms of architecture and LASAR lab. So just remember for everybody who is watching live. Thank you very much to Souktik for joining me. I really have an appreciation for the work. Now really have a new appreciation for the work you've currently been undertaken to create livable and workable environments for astronauts, especially for paranauts as well. I just thought that was a nice little add-in as well. So look, if you want any more information about Souktik, LASAR Labs, or any of his research, I've placed links into the social media pages in the description below. Once again, thank you very much for coming along to this, Souktik. I really do appreciate you taking the time. So just to address everyone who is watching live, if you like this live stream, you know what to do. You need to like, share, and subscribe, and feel free to reach out and support. So thanks very much for watching Aussienaut live once more, and remember, stay caffeinated.